Greetings, fellow tarnished. Well, I have been dying to make this video for weeks now. I feel like I had my big breakthrough probably in the first 20 hours of gameplay, and that's pretty much what I'm mostly going to be talking about, that first transformation I had. But obviously I felt like my words would hold more weight once I finished the game, so I had to practice patience, which is what the game taught me. So let's get into it. For context of who I am, who you're dealing with, I'm a storytelling enthusiast. I love narrative art, all forms of narrative art, movies, TV, anime, books, comics, video games. But I am for sure a gaming normie. I only play story games, and even that, I don't have the most experience. And I never knew what a Souls game was, ever. I heard the term many times when I'm browsing through Steam. Sometimes I'll see Souls like, or on social media on tags I'll see like Soulsborne. And I never knew what that was. I assumed it meant something with Dark Souls, and I really had no inkling of what it could mean. I thought like maybe dark fantasy and demons. I don't know. But I learned what Souls like means the hard way, as Miyazaki intended. The big reason why I played this game, why I was curious about the game, was because of Alex Garland and his adaptation with A24. He is one of my favorite filmmakers, especially working today. And I was just so curious, why is this guy adapting a video game? Like, that seems very much not something Garland would do. But the more you learn about him, the more you read about him, it makes more sense that he's a gamer. It makes more sense that he's very open-minded, He likes anime. But still, I'm like, why Elden Ring? That's very interesting, Especially since Resident Evil, I believe, is what inspired 28 Days Later. So why Elden Ring? And that's what I wanted to find out. I will make a video on that. You could expect that in the next week or so. But for now, I just want to talk about my Souls experience. So the game starts with that lore dump. It's so epic, it's so dark, it's so archaic, it's so operatic, it's so metal, and I love it. But I understand nothing. I'm just like, okay, demigods, pantheon, the world is crap now, man, that's it, And then you do the tutorial, you die immediately. I kind of get a feel for the controls, and then you're thrust into the world. And it's terrifying, honestly. It's anxiety inducing, like no direction whatsoever, just go. And I'm like, okay, and I just go, and I picked the wretch, I think it's wench, where you're just in a freaking underwear and a piece of wood. That was the character build, or the character template I picked, just because I wanted to fully customize my character in however I wanted, and of course all the stats are 10, so I like that. But man, it was incredibly difficult. So I go out there with my piece of wood, just looking at my freaking hairy butt, and then the tree sentinel is right there. And of course the developers did that on purpose. Someone that you have no business beating, that at that point in the game, but they put it in your face on purpose to teach you some lessons. So I go and I try to take this guy out, and of course I immediately die. I don't think I even got a hit on him. And I tried like 5 more times, terrible. And then I start to really get pissed. And of course I give up, I'm like, oh man, I'll come back to this guy. And I remembered something that my friend told me, who is a gamer, many years ago when Elden Ring had just came out, and he was telling me how his strategy, which I'm sure is everyone else's strategy, is to explore, to go do side quests, level up, and then by the time you get to a boss, you're more capable. So I kept that in mind, and I tried to do that. I fight some Godric soldiers, and try to get some actual weapons, not just a piece of wood. And I start to hate the controls, man. And I start to feel like it's so stupid. This is nonsensical. Why is everything so delayed? I click, a full second goes, and then the action happens. And in every other game I've played, your character reacts when you react. So if you're in the middle of a punch and you're like, oh shoot, dodge, your character, for the most part in most games, will be like, oh, and then dodge. And here, you can't go back on your movements. It's like you punch, oh, dodge, and you're still like, boop. And I hated that with a passion. And I was like, this game's so stupid. Souls is so stupid. And then I started to, which before you think I'm rage baiting, I'm a different man now, This is the beginning. This is the first 15 hours of my gameplay. I started to be like, man, these gamers are so stupid. They swear they think that this sort of gameplay is cool. They think this is good, but like, it makes no sense, Like, to me, what would what would be more impressive is if you make a boss so incredibly hard and it really is just up to you to react on time. It really is just up to you to be a good fighter, you know? But then I started to like get a little bit more confident. I started to understand and I started to realize that you need to anticipate movements, like really anticipate movements. And I started to realize that I had the wrong strategy. I was on Torrent, I was on my horseback, and I leveled up a little bit. Now I had a sword, I had some armor, I wasn't butt naked. And I realized, like I said, that wrong strategy. And I started to realize I need to remain calm, be brave, grow some balls, take him on foot. Even though he's this massive horse, this massive knight, you need to just remain calm and roll with his movements, and you know. And then I killed him. Relatively easy. Now that I had this new strategy and this new confidence and this new resolve, I realized like, okay, he can die. And it was glorious. I got a shot of dopamine. I felt incredible. I felt like this is possible. This game is possible. Maybe I could actually beat this game, you know? And then I continue on the gameplay. Now, for some reason, even though I explored a lot and I got an Ash of War, I was using that Wind Ash of War at the beginning. And even though I was going to do an intelligence build, I had already made up my mind. I love magic. I love wizards and I just love that. So I was like, I'm going to do this. Even though I know apparently the community hates on intelligence builds, which, a small note about that, I think that's ridiculous because I really do think that if you know how to build your character, they'll be overpowered. You know, so it's kind of ridiculous to me that like, oh, one build is more overpowered than others. It's like, no, at least that's my normie perspective, but I don't agree with that. Anyways, so for some reason, I just did not go to Stormvale Castle. I think maybe like I was intimidated by the archers and I was like, oh, I'll go away, and I forgot. So my first big boss was Renella. I went to the academy first, which was a little weird for me now looking back because of seeing like the progression of the story. But you know, you could do whatever you want. So I went to the castle first. And then I got humbled again, you know, like those stupid sorcerers, the glintstone sorcerers with the big helmets. They kept killing me left and right, and I feel like that experience again, going through that castle, really showed me rolling, dodging, stealth, you know, how to really be smart, you know, in your combat. And then I finally get to the Red Wolf of Radagon, or whatever his name is. And my goodness, I hated that wolf. I spent days on that wolf. And once again, it was the same experience as a Tree Sentinel. I was like, this is impossible. Like, there's just no way. Like this, his movements are so fast. He's so erratic. You make one mistake and boom, your health is gone and you're done. I really was like, I'm gonna quit. Like I really was like, man, like this is so stupid. Once again, these controls, like even though I kind of made my peace with it during the Tree Sentinel, once again, all the weakness came back. And I started hating the game. I started hating the controls. I started hating freaking Miyazaki, all these gamers that are like, get good, you know? And I started to rationalize failure, which is what happens when you're weak, you know? You start to rationalize it. And I'm like, man, I don't even need to play this stupid game. I feel like I'm wasting my time. And that's a small detail about myself. I hate wasting time. I have a picture which I'll show from the bear. Every second counts. That's like a philosophy I live by. And I started to feel like this game's a waste of time. Like I'm like 15-20 hours in already, and like, what is the point, man? Like I don't even know what the story is. Like how am I gonna make a video on this eventually about Garland? Like I don't care. Like I just started to be weak. But then I remembered, I'm like, damn it, I did mention in 2 videos that I would make that Garland video, and that pride started to hit me, and I'm like, man, I want to be a man of my word. You know. So I powered through, locked in again, and then I beat him, which is obviously the Souls experience. Feeling something is impossible, feeling like there's no way. You make a little progress, you see his health go down a little bit, and there's always hope when you see that, you know, and just not giving up and just being smart. It's all about determination, willpower, and strategy. You need strategy. And I think that's what I realized about this game. And I will say after this, just to say, I'm not going to talk too much about bosses, because I think after this experience and after defeating Renala, the game became much more, I wouldn't say easy, not at all, but much more doable, and I had much more of a flow going through the bosses. But something that I just learned in this game is you have to be fully focused. You have to be fully present. and I'm used to relying on my intuition. I'm used to relying on instinct. And on other games, I feel like my mind can wander during a fight, but you could still power through. You know, you could still figure out a way to win. And my initial instinct in any fights, real fights or in a game fight, is to just go head first, to go berserker, to be aggressive. And unless you're really good, you can do that. But obviously, in the beginning of the game, like you cannot do that. You need to be very intentional, very methodical in your movements. Methodical, there's a word. I remember when I was at the beginning of the game, I really felt like, man, are these controls messed up? Is there something wrong? And when I was looking on Reddit and on forums, everyone was like, it's methodical. And in the beginning, I was like, stupid. And now I appreciate it and I do like it. And I don't know if this is a fact. I might totally be talking out of my ass, but I think there is like a tradition or a phrase or a philosophy in Japan about doing something incredibly difficult is rewarding, and doing one thing right, like mastering that one thing, no matter how difficult it is, like can transform you or something like that. So it makes sense why Miyazaki, and all those developers created this game that's so intentionally hard, so unforgiving, you know, because there is like a mental transformation that happens. You have to like rewire your brain because we're so weak, you know, we're naturally so weak, and you need that determination and willpower to like overcome a fight, to overcome a boss. And you cannot be careless, and the game forces you, it tells you, it reminds you time and time again, you cannot be careless, because even if you're powerful, if you kind of like look away for a bit, you will die. Even if it's someone that you normally can beat easily, you will die because you need to be present. And something that I liken it to, which will sound funny initially, is jujitsu, or martial artists enthusiasts who talk about jujitsu or wrestling or things like that. I'm not a martial artist, but I listen to a lot of martial artists, and they always talk about how you get this high because you completely escape in the fight. Because in something like jiu-jitsu, you have to be methodical, you have to be calm under pressure and make decisions, and you cannot just be aggressive because then you will lose, you know. So it forces you to be patient in a fight. And obviously that's way worse because there's the physical aspect, it's more real, obviously. But I feel like a Souls game or Elden Ring is akin to that, you know. Like I said, like every time my mind would wander, because that's just the type of brain I have, I would die. And I'd be like, oh, focus, you know, like I need to focus. And I do love that, you know, like there is this high you get, and that happens a lot. The flow state, you know, entering that flow state in a fight is such an addictive feeling, and it's just crazy. It's a crazy phenomenon, but it's real, you know. Like you lose 100 times, 300 times you lose, and then you just enter a state where you're just in the moment, hyper focused, and you see the movements. It's like an anime moment, like all the movements are slow now, you know. Like in a way, yeah, you're like dodge, roll, hit, dodge, roll, hit, and then they're dead, and you're just like, oh my god, I freaking did it, you know. It's such a incredible experience, it really is, to be honest. Just to talk a little bit about the NPCs, the world building, huge worldly exploration. I just love meeting all these NPCs. Alexander damn near made me cry, and he's a freaking jar. But like that character, that little journey you go on, meeting him at different points in the game, heartbreaking and yet inspiring. And I really love Alexander. But yeah, this game was truly an incredible experience. I wouldn't say it's my favorite game of all time and stuff like that, because like I said, I am a story guy, so I prefer a story game, and this game is not focused on story. And that is a complaint I have, but I mean, that's not what this game is, so I can't complain for the game being what it is and not being something else, you know. But sometimes I would like lose grasp on the story because I get like a little chunk of story and then be focused on gameplay for like freaking 3 or 4 days, and then get another nugget of story, and I have to be like, oh yeah, what was that other piece of knowledge I got before, and have to connect the dots. But I know that's not the point of the game, you know. It's the exploration, it's the bosses, it's all that stuff I've talked about ad nauseum. But yeah, I really did love this experience. It was incredible, and I became so incredibly obsessed. I was dreaming about it almost every single night, which is insane. And just always trying to like, how can I be better? How can I be better? How can I what's a new strategy I could try. And something that's incredible that I did hear, I'm sure everyone has seen that clip of Elon Musk talking about Elden Ring, and it's so true how every boss is different, truly different, and like you can't apply the same logic, the same strategy to every single boss. You need to start from scratch in a way, you know. I will say I did not find Malenia that hard, to be honest. Like, don't get me wrong, I died many times. Like, she took me about an hour or an hour and a half to get through, which in the Souls world, that's a little bit of time, honestly. Like, Malekith, I think he's my favorite boss, honestly. So badass. So his dialogue was incredible. His fight was incredible. His fight felt overwhelming in the best sense possible. I spent days on him, you know, and Malenia I spent a little less than 2 hours, you know. But granted, I was much more leveled up, but still, I felt like she was so infamous. I thought it was gonna take me like forever, you know. And also the fire giant. The fire giant took me days as well. That was insane. I felt like even though I was leveled up, this is end game boss. I did that weakness started to creep up. This is impossible. This is impossible. But obviously, I was in the end game already, so I was much more confident, much more stronger, frankly, you know, like mentally stronger. And obviously, I overcame him. But yeah, I guess that's all I'll say. This was a transformative experience, and look out for my Alex Garland video. I will be making that in the next week or so. It should be out within a week. So subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. I'm gonna be saying my interpretation and my theories of how I think Alex Garland will translate this into a film. Because now that I know what this game is, it is very interesting to think about how he's gonna articulate it and adapt it. So look out for that. And my fellow Elden Ring players, let me know your thoughts on the game, your experience. How many playthroughs are you in? Because I'm sure many of you are like past 3 already. And yeah, just give me your thoughts on my thoughts, your experiences, your thoughts on Alex Garland, all that good stuff. And I bid thee farewell. Thanks for watching.